is here before you, and I will email you the correct answer to this. But um, if Jesus did not rise from the dead, this is huge. St. Paul says we're all idiots, and to say Jesus Christ is Lord is foolish and dumb. If he didn't raise from the dead, everything he does doesn't matter. Our faith in Jesus doesn't matter. It's actually foolish because he said he would rise from the dead. He came to defeat death. And unless he rose from the dead, he didn't do what he was supposed to do. So that's how big the resurrection is. And Easter Sunday is the biggest feast on the Catholic calendar. I think I said that a couple chapters ago, a couple weeks ago. You know, when I talked about the Passover is the greatest feast for the Jewish people, for us Catholics, it's Easter. Because this is when everything was accomplished. And then the last enemy was death. Okay. All right. So that's your those are your answers there. Quick flip review from last class. Shroud of Turin, which resides in Italy, is the burial cloth of Jesus Christ, and we can see his imprint on that shroud pretty clearly. It's safe to believe that this is Jesus, and it was formed mysteriously, and this imprint could very well be evidence of the resurrection. So those are those slides. So lesson 2, which we kind of started last class, I entitled Early That Morning. What we're going to see and read in the Bible today through a couple different accounts is the women going to the tomb before the sun's even up. They're walking in the dark, and then they're going to encounter the powerful light of the risen Lord. The first thing, I don't want to give this note its own slide, but is that this Easter mystery, this Easter resurrection, is a transcendent event, which I taught you meant that this goes beyond space and time. And there's a little bit more here that you may want to add to your notes. The resurrection is both historical. You will hear some silly people out there in the world saying, "Oh, it's just a mystical, it's a spiritual experience where Jesus died, but we still have him in our hearts. His body didn't actually come out of the grave." And that's baloney. That's malarkey. That's, you call it what you want, but that's wrong. It actually happened historically, and because it happened in our time and place, it is also transcendent, meaning, like I've already said, it goes beyond space and time. It impacts every human life that ever did exist. So after Jesus rises from the dead, he's going to go to hell. He's going to go to the dead, and he's going to say, "Those we don't know exactly what he said or did, but he said, I've defeated the death that y'all are subject to." I got it, Molly. I've already defeated the death that y'all are subject to, and so I will bring y'all to heaven. Welcome back. Just you?
Yeah, I think they're eating.
And so every life that ever existed before the death of Jesus is now allowed to go to heaven. Every life thereafter is now allowed to go to heaven. This is what we mean when it's transcendent. This covers all human existence throughout time. Okay. All right, open your Bibles to Matthew 28. I think we're going to go through a couple Bible passages on the resurrection, and there's a few details in each gospel that I want to emphasize to you so you understand all that occurred. Yes.
It said that after he was resurrected, all this went before.
Yeah, we don't know. They might have been in like a waiting room. They might have been. Some of them might have been in purgatory. Maybe all those who were still being purified after their death. were allowed into heaven. We don't really have the details. We have this tradition that he went down to the dead and he let them in. So maybe all the good, righteous souls, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, all the wonderful Old Testament people y'all learned about, there's no official teaching. They could have well been just not in hell for sure, but just kind of like not in heaven yet. Or they could have maybe been allowed into heaven, knowing that Jesus would there's just differences of opinion there. But yeah, that's about it. So Easter Sunday morning. Okay, chapter 20, verse 1. After the Sabbath, what day of the week is the Sabbath for Jewish people? Saturday. Saturday. Saturday is the seventh day of the week. Okay, very important point. Saturday is the Sabbath for the Jews. And what does this say? After the Sabbath, the first day of the week, when God separated light and darkness, when God began creating the world. This is the day Jesus rises. The significance of the first day of the week. Jesus is going to move the holy day. It was Saturday because Saturday, the seventh day, Adam and Eve rest with God. Beautiful. But when Jesus, is in the grave on Saturday, then he rises, he completes our redemption. He completes our redemption on Sunday. And so that's the day we go to Mass. That's the way we go to church. Today, Jewish people still keep the Sabbath Saturday holy. For Christians, we say Jesus moved it to Sunday because that's when he redeemed us. And Muslims have Friday as their holy day. I don't know exactly why. It could be the day Muhammad ascended to heaven, as they believe. But I want you to get that. This is such a monumental event in Christianity that we changed, Jesus changed, the day of week that was considered holy. Okay? Mary Magdalene and the other Mary came to the tomb. In other Gospels, it says that it was a couple different women. I'm not ready for that yet. So just know the emphasis when it comes to the women going to the tomb, as we're going to see today, is on Mary Magdalene. She's going to be kind of maybe leading the pack. And what are they going to do? They're going to go to anoint the body. They're going to go rub more oils and spices on it, perhaps, to honor Jesus as they mourn his loss. They came to the tomb. Verse 2, and behold, there was a great earthquake. Everything rumbled. Has anybody here ever experienced an earthquake? It doesn't really happen in Louisiana. It's one natural disaster we don't have to deal with. I have. It's very jolting. I was in Guatemala for a couple months. I experienced a couple down there. It's very jolting. It wakes you up. Nobody goes in touch. I actually woke up in the middle of the night from an earthquake in Guatemala, and I felt my whole room shake. Actually, I think I've experienced three. I experienced one in Washington, D.C., my first day of seminary, too. And it's jolting. So earthquakes are scary things, but I kind of hope you get to experience one and nobody gets hurt in the process because it's kind of exciting. For an angel of the Lord descended from heaven, approached, rolled back the stone, and sat upon it. So this angel is feeling high and mighty. They moved this stone, which, as you saw from the movie Risen, was quite the feat. It would take a number of soldiers to move this. They sealed it, they tied it down, and here the implication from the gospel accounts is that there was this burst of energy, the power of God moved the stone, and this angel is sitting upon it. His appearance was like lightning, and clothing was white as snow. The guards were shaken with fear of him and became like dead men, which I think is a very telling point. The guards became like dead men. They probably passed out. And you kind of saw that in the movie Risen. They were traumatized. They were absolutely traumatized at the power of God that was around them. But they were so pagan, they were so far from the true God that they couldn't recognize that this was an act of God. They're overwhelmed, probably afraid for their own lives. And there's a lot of significance when Matthew is writing his gospel and he says that these guards became like dead men. But what we have here is some humble Jewish women who do not pass out. And you're going to see they're going to stay awake and alert. The message is those who are in God's graces are going to be given life. Those who are not following God or in his graces, Jesus' conquering of death means death for them. And they remain in their death, and they will live death for all eternity. But Jesus offers life. So there's a message of what Jesus is doing right there. They became like dead men. Then the angel said to the woman in reply, "Do not be afraid. I know that you are seeking Jesus the crucified. He is not here, for he has been raised, just as he said." Which is important. I'm going to add to this note 6 times in the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus said, "I will rise from the dead. I will be crucified. I will be handed over. I will die, and then I will rise from the dead." He said this probably dozens of times, but Matthew in his Gospel records it 6 times. 6 times. And the apostles still did not believe that he was going to rise from the dead. And then when Mary is going to go to them, they're not going to believe her, at least not wholeheartedly. So this event was foretold, by Jesus, unprecedented in human history. So much so that his closest apostles still questioned it. That it's such a crazy belief that somebody could come back from the dead. But nevertheless, he is not here. He has been raised just as he said. That's verse 6. Come and see the place where he lay. Come see the evidence. Then go quickly and tell his disciples he has been raised from the dead. Before I get into Mary Magdalene and the apostles, when we talked about they entered into the tomb and they saw the burial cloths are not entirely, but by themselves, they're evidence that he rose from the dead. Because think about it. If the apostles, disciples of Jesus, were going to go into the tomb and take Jesus out, are they going to waste their time to unravel this dead man that is stuck to the clothes? No. They're going to take Jesus wrapped up. So if his body truly was stolen or just moved, it wouldn't make sense that his burial cloths were there. So the church says that there's evidence, and the angels say, "Look, that's where you laid him 2 days ago, 3 days ago, and that's his clothes. He's not here. He's beyond this experience in a whole nother realm outside of space and time. This is a transcendent event." And so then what does Mary Magdalene do? Well, the angel tells her to go quickly, verse 7, tell the disciples, he's been raised from the dead. He has gone before you to Galilee. There you will see him. And you saw that on your movie sheet. That's where Jesus is going to tell them to go. Behold, I have told you. Then they went away quickly from the tomb, fearful yet overjoyed, and ran to announce this to his disciples. And behold, Jesus met them on their way and greeted them. They approached, embraced his feet, and did him homage. And Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go tell my brothers to go to Galilee, and there they will see me." So they're like, okay, we got this message from an angel. There's so much going on in their minds and their hearts. They're excited, but they're afraid. But the angel said, go tell the apostles. Okay, we can go back to the apostles. And then while they're going back, Jesus appears to them and consoles them, reassures them all the more. Because of this, Mary Magdalene, and what do we know about Mary Magdalene's past? What did you get from the movie? Who was Mary Magdalene? Some of you know this even before the movie. Nobody knows Mary Magdalene's past? In the movie, okay, I should have explained this then in the movie. When they kind of capture Mary Magdalene and Clavius is going to go question her. He's like, are we sure this is her? And his assistant there is like, well, she's a woman of the night. She doesn't really have a job. She's a prostitute. Mary Magdalene's a prostitute. And we're going to see more about her dirty past when we get to the Gospel of John. But Jesus appears first to Mary Magdalene and other women and says, you have the job of telling my inner circle, the apostles, to go to Galilee. I've already mentioned that. And I think I have this note coming up. But Mary Magdalene is going to be referred to as the apostle to the apostles. Because the word apostle means a person who is sent. And Mary Magdalene is sent to tell the good news for the first time to those who were sent by Jesus to go into the world and proclaim the good news. The kingdom of God is at hand. So she was the apostle to the apostles. Probably should have put this in a lowercase a, but you get the point. And she's going to tell them to go to Galilee, and you saw that in the movie, and the movie was accurate when she says, "Got to go to Galilee." She just said, "He'll meet you up there," and they're going to make the trek up there. So that's Matthew's gospel account. I think I want to look at. Let me check the time one more time. I think the bell's going to ring super shortly, as in like right now. But we're going to. I'm going to talk into the bell. John 20, because the bell schedule's been so off today, you can't really trust it. We're going to get a little bit more details about Jesus and Mary Magdalene in the Gospel of John, chapter 20. Page 174 of the New Testament. But Mary stayed outside the tomb weeping, and as she wept, she bent over the tomb, and she saw two angels in white sitting there, one at the head and one at the feet. And they said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? They've taken my Lord, and I don't know where they laid him," she said. When she had said this, she turned around and saw Jesus there, but did not know it was Jesus. Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you looking for?" She thought it was the gardener and said to him. So she thought Jesus was a gardener. And this is the song I played at the beginning of class. That where Jesus was buried, there was a garden. There was bushes and plants, maybe fruit. Why is that significant? When you think of garden in the Bible, what are you thinking about? Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve. Okay, so what's the connection? Well, I'm trying to help you make sense of the Bible and dive deeper into knowledge of Jesus. Why is it significant that they're in a garden? Jesus is acting like a gardener, and there is two people there. There is Jesus, who would represent who? And Adam. Redeemed Adam, risen Adam, resurrected Adam, defeated death and sin, did the right thing, was obedient to God. Mary Magdalene, who is she? Well, yeah, she would represent fallen Eve, the church, the bride of Christ. And he's like, here we are. He reversed the mess of Adam and Eve. And so he appears in a garden to a sinful woman who's been healed at this point and believes in God. Believes in Jesus wholeheartedly. But that's the imagery that we have here in the Gospel of John. Remember, Gospel of John, I taught you this in chapter 1, is about new creation. God recreated the earth, but he didn't do it completely until he resurrected from the dead. So it's important to know that this is happening in a garden. And then what is Jesus? Once she recognized Jesus, verse 16, Jesus said to her, "Mary." And then she goes, "I know that voice." And then she responds. She turned to him and said in Hebrew, "Rabboni," which means teacher. Jesus said to her, "Stop holding on to me, for I have not yet ascended to my Father." Okay, that's kind of a weird passage. Don't hold on to me. Don't hold me. Jesus is going to let other people touch him, but there's a message here that, and I want you to make sense of this, that do not hold me means I'm not here to stay. Don't get comfortable with me. Don't get too excited because I have to go back to my Father. And that's the first thing he kind of says to her. Like, I'm alive, but I'm still moving out of town in about 40 days. Okay? Some people read this passage. What I was taught in high school is that Mary Magdalene and Jesus had sexual relations, and they might have even been married. Just complete bogus. They take this one line and they make that massive assumption. I was taught that when I was your age in high school. And I looked at my religion teacher. I was like, "Are you serious?" And he was like, "Hmm." I was like, "Oh, this world needs better religion teachers." So here I am. Um, anyway, so do not hold me is what Jesus said. Do not touch me. I haven't ascended to my Father yet. And then I've already told you about Mary Magdalene being the apostle to the apostles. Your bell ringer. Oh, you have a vocab quiz next class. And after your vocab quiz, I'm going to give you a handout in which you're going to have to identify all the different characteristics of the resurrection in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I'll walk you through that. But don't forget about your vocab quiz next class. It's only 10 terms. You're going to do the. I wanted to give you more time with the Regina Caeli prayer before I just give you a quiz on it because it's a new prayer to pretty much all of you. So you'll get quizzed on the prayer next week. I don't see y'all till Thursday. Quiz there and then. All right. That's lesson 2 completed.